At this time, I would like to call the Kansas City, Kansas Board of Public Utilities work session for October 16th to order. Roll call, please.
Roll call, Groneman,
Here.
Haley, Waits, Mulvaney Henry,
Here.
Parker, Gonzalez. Here. We need one more. Do we have anyone online? Parker? Parker?
Brett, we're in the middle of roll call and
You're needed.
Here.
you're up.
Sorry, it was switching me over to be a panelist, but I'm here.
You have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. This time I would move for approval of the agenda with the correction that we're going to be moving the capital improvement plan to number 6 and the customer service policy to number 5.
Move to approve. Rich Rowe, second.
Okay, all those in favor? Roll call.
Roll call, Groneman,
Aye.
Haley, Wakes,
Aye.
Mulvaney Henry,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Gonzalez.
Aye.
And that motion carries.
And let the record reflect that Mr. Wakes is now
Present.
okay. Board update, general manager update. Any board members have anything to? One thing I've got is that on this coming Saturday is the public forum. It's going to be out at the community college from 9 to 11. And Mr. Johnson and I will be there on the panel to answer whatever questions. I think they've got a list of questions that they solicited and go through those. And mainly what we were told was that each of the people that are invited, the school districts, the DA, they'll each BPU will each be asked 2 questions out of the list. So
Are they compound questions?
probably could be. Yes.
I just wanted to mention, the calendar for the unified government shows a special meeting, I'll call meeting tomorrow at 5:30 PM that, they'll be discussing the pilot.
And I plan to attend that, so I just need to,
As do I, Angela.
so.
And me too.
Well,
Public notice.
And Angela, I plan to attend on Saturday as well.
all right, I'll let Nick know to send for both. Thank you.
Yeah, might as well just cover the bases. The other thing is, the interviews for, the candidates. They sent out a schedule to, these will be by virtual. The upstairs conference room with the big screen will be available for those who want to, come here and, and do the interviews. As a group, if you want to do it at your home residence, you can join by Zoom or Works or whatever. What are we using?
Teams.
Teams. So I'm going to show up here. So
I didn't know that was an option.
it is an option.
Yep, go ahead.
I'd ask Rob how, because we'll have to start in open session and then go upstairs. Will there be 2 links or will you just make it private at some point?
You're talking about a Teams meeting that somebody else is hosting?
No, we'll host it, or we could host it.
It's not how it's set up right now.
It's set up with them. So maybe that's the easiest way is to have 2 different links.
No, it will be one link no matter what, whether it's them hosting or us hosting, and I can log into as many rooms as we need. Just
Okay, so you could log it.
Why would we have to, why can't we just open the meeting upstairs? Why do we have to do it here? and then-
We have to have a physical, well, you absolutely could be up there, but we have to have a physical location here for the public to come if they want to watch you take roll
Okay, well, they can,
in the screen. So if they want to watch that, we'd have to have it broadcast, but you absolutely can start upstairs. I didn't write the rules.
it's not all, they changed since the last time because we didn't have to.
No, we did. We went into we went in,
We just met upstairs and we did our deal.
but we had an open. You've got to go into executive session in an open forum.
But at the time you guys did that, I guess you could do your interview like that, but everything else was in person. That was
Yeah,
pre-pandemic.
there was no
Right.
Zoom.
Right,
So we didn't do remote meetings anyway.
right.
Or you guys.
Good point. We wouldn't have had the remote link up, and you don't have to offer that, but you do have to offer a public spot. So you wouldn't have to offer that link if that's up to the board.
Can we get a feel of who will be coming here and who would be attending?
I haven't made that clear yet with my employer yet, so I don't know what I'll be.
It might be easier for me since I just have Teams on my phone and
Me too.
bitty screen.
Like,
And I don't want to put any Exchange or BBU stuff on my other device because I don't want one of my kids picking it up or something like that.
Might suggest that if you're not gonna be here, President likes the board rules to allow for executive session to be remote or here as an option. Because those.
That's right. We didn't be in executive session, so
That's right. I don't know, Brett or David, do you know whether or not you'll be in attendance?
It'll-
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it will depend on how the rest of my work schedule fills in around it. I'd like to do in person if possible, but if I end up with wall-to-wall things outside of it, then I'll have to hop on virtually.
so I guess that morning or that first time that when we meet, if we can then, somebody's not here, and they're gonna attend remotely, then we can change that at that time. Like that,
I'll plan to attend remotely.
okay.
I mean, I know that for a fact.
We've done that one other time, right?
Not since we made the new rule.
I thought we did.
The rules.
I thought we just did it not that long ago. For some reason.
So that morning, then we'll make that determination, or we'll make that change to the policies or to the rule.
You can temporarily suspend the rule.
it's being hosted by them, right? So, haven't seen the questions yet. And I definitely want to make sure that my concerns are expressed in the questions, because that's gonna be really important to me.
I'm sure they'll be reaching out to us with the interview questions and make sure that we have everything that the board members.
I'm assuming it's not in my head.
Yeah, I'll contact them and make sure that they understand that there are some concerns that we want included in the questions that we want each candidate to address. Particularly me personally, I definitely want them to address diversity, because as you can see, our BPU's leadership really looks sad, and that needs help.
Anything else? Anybody? Bill, do you have anything?
I don't know if you noticed, I sent out a today. Open records request made last week. Communication between me and the county administrator and the mayor. So we provided that, and then there's a news story that's out there.
today.
But our communication actually went back further than what was reported in that.
So none of the open records requests come to me, it's just whatever their requests are,
Okay,
be up to by laws.
I'm glad that they did come forward. I hate to see, I hate to see you or the BPU put in bad light. And so I'm glad that they made that request to make sure that things were put out in the open so that everyone's looking.
Well, and we keep talking about wanting to maintain our transparency here, so. It's gonna be the case going forward too, okay.
Thank you.
Is there anything else?
No, let's move into the
Okay, so I think we're going
service policy first.
service policies first. Okay. The person,
Very excited to be back here tonight talking about the customer service policy, as I know the staff is as well.
Madam Chair, if you'd like the.
Yes, please. So unbelievably, we met last week, the policy committee did with staff. And, we completed our most recent input into this. Down to just a few issues still that were given to the board. I believe the board was presented with these on Friday. Does anybody remember? Does anybody know? I believe they went out on Friday. They were passed along on Friday to the full board. So I presume that the full board has read and internalized the red line draft, but I will stop there and just for confirmation of that. Thank you, Mr. Wakes. Mr. Gorman, you're on the committee. Mrs. Gonzalez?
yes.
Okay. Mr. Parker's on the committee. Is David on yet? Okay, so 2.01 was, we talked about this quite a bit last time, what the conditions of service are, how far the BPU can go back on bad debt, right? If a customer's signing up for service or if a customer is an existing customer and BPU discovers along the way that there's some bad debt out there associated with an account. And so this section that's been redrafted, 2.01, is I redrafted it once. That didn't work out for staff and it didn't work out for the policy committee. So we redrafted again after that meeting. And I think this captures everything we discussed. And I think it captures most of what the board discussed on this last go around as well. So, I mean, I think what you can see here is that basically there's a magic 180 days, right? And so, look, if there's bad debt out there and you are a service applicant, you are going to owe that bad debt. Now, there's an opportunity for that customer, that potential customer, to pay that outstanding debt. Shouldn't call it bad debt. I apologize. It's outstanding debt. To pay that outstanding debt with their first bill, or excuse me, prior to initiation of service, or to enter into payment arrangements, provided that applicant, potential customer, pays at least 1/6 of the outstanding debt. So those are the things there. And then if you're a customer, existing customer, and at some point in time, BPU discovers that there is outstanding debt out there for you, that outstanding debt has to be discovered within 180 days of you initiating your service. So that's the explanation of that section. I don't know if you guys have questions or comments about it, or if everybody's good with it at this point.
No, I was gonna ask that question. So after 160 days?
180.
180 days, yes, it's 180 days, then that cannot be resurfaced, it cannot be attached to the bill, that what they're saying.
That's right.
Okay.
And part of the, the thought process behind that was, you know, we talked about this in the meeting with staff. I mean, this is not a reflection necessarily on humans. Now this is a reflection on our technology, right? And we spent a lot of money to upgrade our systems. And I know that these guys are, I mean, I'll tell you right now, you throw something at them and you'd be like, they're like, nope, there's this one time and they'll give me something 15 years ago or give us something 15 years ago where this thing happened, right? And you can't get anything past it. Like I've tried and they're impenetrable. I can't get anything past them. So, I mean, they can always come up with something, right? And which is good because they've seen everything. And I know Abby's experience that she's brought to the table, you know, she confirms exactly what these folks are saying to us. Yeah, all this stuff is out there, right? People change names, you know, and sometimes there's a nefarious intent to it. But, you know, so the thought process is our systems have to get better. We have to get better as a utility. Number one, we should be bringing the money in, right? That's what we're supposed to do for the services that we provide. And so we need to get better at that ourselves. So that's why we came up with this cutoff, like, here's the amount of time you have to go back to get it.
Thank you.
Right?
Thank you.
Okay,
Unless it's fraud.
unless it's fraud or diversion of services. Thank you. Which is also included in that.
Good to resolve both of these comments.
Senator Haley on yet? Board,
Good.
Good.
Brett?
I'm good. I would just add that, look, we had great discussion around how to resolve this particular piece of it and the work session that continued in the committee session. I appreciate all board members and staff. Took a while to get there, but I think we ended up in a really good place.
Completely agree.
Me too.
Thank you, staff. Me three. Okay, so that one is resolved. 4.01 was literally just a little bit of wordsmithing. I don't think there's anything that is controversial there, but I will ask the board if they're okay with it, thumbs up, thumbs down. Staff, I know you guys have already had an opportunity to review that and did not have an issue. Hearing nothing, we're moving right along. End of 4.2, we changed a little bit of language around there, which actually made the paragraph make sense. So I don't believe that was anything controversial. I don't know if anybody had any questions about that. Who's not on the policy committee? I'm looking at you, Wakes and Gonzalez.
No.
Okay, good. We're good. Moving right along, moving right along. Some of the rest of the stuff was cleanup. I mean, that was in the cover email that I sent over to you guys. It hopefully made its way to you, which I think it did. Yeah, the next most substantive part of this is 7.01. Was that just last Wednesday? Good Lord. So we talked a lot about, you know, responsibility and liability for payment between a primary account holder and a secondary account holder. And I think that this language reflects what we talked about at that time, but I guess staff, I don't know if you guys had any thoughts after you read it, or the rest of the policy committee as well, because I know, I mean, I know you guys saw this on Friday, or over the weekend, but if there was any issue or needed any explanation.
My whole concern was about complaints by customers regarding being able to, after their husband is deceased, being able to have the account placed in their name. That was my really concern about this particular portion.
Right, and so the particular issue you were talking about, I mean, so there is a process that the customer would have to go through. I mean, the new customer, their surviving spouse would have to go through to become a customer. And that's certainly addressed in here, but I didn't know if this particular section, I mean, some of the same tenets of 2.01 apply here as well, the 180 days, opportunity for payment arrangements, or whatever. But the biggest discussion we had about this was, okay, well, what if you're adding a secondary account holder? And that secondary account holder has outstanding debt out to BPU. And now they're taking on the debt of the primary account holder, but the primary account holder does not know that the secondary account holder has this other debt out there. Right? And so we tried to account for all of that in here. Any comments?
I like where it's,
You like the words? Thank you. I worked really hard at them. Rob, I think we can resolve that one.
Including the one around the word specifically for B. Okay. Good.
You good? Okay, 7.02, we actually changed the name. It used to be invalid tenant. We changed it to unauthorized tenant, and we've now just changed this to unknown user because that's essentially what this person is in this situation. So I don't know if there's any issues there. Awesome. Deceased account holder, Mr. Wakes. We're at that section. Hopefully all of that stuff makes sense, but we added some language at the end of this because we had a scenario come up. Again, they're impenetrable. Like, well, what if they can come up with anything? God love them, but no, they did a good job with this. But so it was like, okay, well, what if you've got somebody, who's there at the deceased person's house and they're a responsible party, but also there's somebody else who had a legal right to the property to begin with, and they come and challenge it. So we added some language around that to just address it. So hopefully that makes sense. And
That was an issue that would come up frequently, not this particular one, but just the spouse wasn't on the account. Never made his or her name available to customer service. And then, 6 years down the road, after they're getting their
Yeah.
deceased spouse's bill.
yeah, no, and that's one thing I think, in the line of things that we talk about sometimes at the Community Engagement Committee
Right.
and what our ambassadors can go out and do in the same vein. I don't see Amber in the room, but some of the things that Amber's going to be doing out in the community as well. These are reminders that we have to, if you don't say it 10 times, people aren't going to remember. And those are things that, it's like telling people every day, hey, you got your will yet? Right? A lot of people don't have wills. A lot of people don't have that stuff buttoned up. And then, an unfortunate event or death occurs and you're not ready for that. So this is one more thing that people don't think about. Make sure you have somebody else on your utility bill.
I'm glad got some resolution to it, which would be helpful.
Rob, button it up. I know we all didn't think we were going to come to this point where we're actually resolving all of these. So you guys are being awfully quiet over here and I like it.
There's just suppressing those smiles.
Because they're like, are we really at the end? I'm the same way. I'm like, I got a huge smile on my face. I'm like, but I know what's coming. Okay, so we talked about this a little bit in a previous work session. We talked about it further with staff and talking about, so the amount of time we have from the day the billing cycle begins, right? So you paid your bill, your billing cycle begins. Day one, you start usage. 75 days from there is when ultimately you could be eligible for a disconnect. Did I say that correctly? I used to have the timeframes wrong, but I think you set me straight, Lori, on it's the day your usage begins. So it's the first day of your new billing cycle.
Yep.
Right? So there's a 75-day window there where a customer can incur usage, rack up additional charges. And is that time frame too long? For number one, we wind up having customers, who are in financial instability that might not be able to pay their bills in a timely fashion. and they wind up racking up more charges. And that just increases, late payment charges increase, those things increase if that time frame is so long. And I think that's a discussion for the board to see whether or not you want, I don't think there's anything we can do about it today or with this policy. But I think that's something, if you want to direct the staff to look at the different alternatives that might be in play, taking into account cash flow, right? Taking into account impact on customer, impact on utility. Is that something we want the staff to look at? I don't want them to waste their time if that's not something we think is valuable to both the customer and valuable to BPU.
I can't, personally, I haven't heard any scenarios where that's a problem.
Yeah, you've got racking up more bills, being patient and giving them more time. I mean, where's the balance?
That's it. That's the
That's it.
22.
It is. So, I mean, if
You're
we don't want
customer
staff to
friendly?
take, if we don't want staff to, direct resource that way, then no reason to, for sure. If we think it's working today.
You think it's more customer friendly to let them have that extra time, but is it really customer friendly or are we being, giving them an opportunity to incur more debt and have bigger problems than what they had?
What's the option?
Yeah, that's.
Rose, I would just add
Okay.
something similar to what I said in policy committee, which is this is a challenge. And I think we had one of the biggest lessons for me going through all of these policies was just getting a greater appreciation of our flex pay program. And so just for all board members as sort of ambassadors and messengers on this, if you have any constituents who are worried about, racking that up, really encourage them to take a hard look at the flex pay. Also get to avoid, if they do it from the beginning, they get to avoid some of the deposits as well. So I just wanted to put my 2 cents in there, as that was one of my best learning opportunities as we've gone through line by line in this policy. Is a lot of the challenges that we see, flex pay is a pretty nice solution that sidesteps some of those, trade-offs.
As a customer who has gone through the entire gamut of BPU pay, cash flow problems exist in spite of what we do with the bid. The expense of using electricity and water, those will remain. Nothing can stop that. The need to have those utilities, that will not stop either. So I don't think that changing, the time frame in which they're allowed to utilize something, because number one, you have to use it. That's why, anyway, I'm not gonna go into that, but they have to use it, and then cash flow problem will continue to exist as long as their income does not provide an opportunity to play it. But I think the thing we have to look at case by case basis and how we keep that customer, particularly when it involves what they're up against and what they need in order to be able to get to the point where they can survive.
And I think promoting the flex pay is something that we need to continue to do, especially in cases like that.
Exactly.
But even with the flex pay, like I said, I've been through all of this. Even with the flex pay, they're paying as they use it. So if they have a cash flow problem, that's not going to fix the cash flow problem, because they still have to pay. The thing is, they're going to be paying more often than they would if they were on the regular payment. So because it's going to be almost
I don't know, it's easier to come up with $20 than it is to come up with 200.
exactly.
And it keeps their power on for a smaller.
All right, so I think what I'm hearing is a consensus. I use that word right, Angie, a consensus that we do not want to direct the staff to look at that time frame any further, and we're just, okay,
Leave it.
awesome. Lock it up. Yeah, 14.01, 14.02, we're just clean up.
I need to go back to bill and payment, because in this whole, thing that I looked at it. I just talked about my frustration with BPU.
But wait, are you at 12.01?
Oh, no, I'm back before that. When you talk about billing and payment. Yeah, so, nothing in this policy, well, we have a policy. The thing is that the customer perception and understanding of the policy is my concern, particularly as it regards to late payments. Especially when they make payment arrangements. That's my main concern. When they make payment arrangements, there is a late fee that must be paid. And I don't know if they changed where, in which that late payment is paid. You understand what? No. If they need to make arrangements, say they need to make arrangements, they make those arrangements, and with those arrangements, you give them so many days to pay. You tell you they're due on this day, this day, this day, this day. And so the first payment, you say, on this payment, you have to pay the first payment plus the late fee.
Right.
Okay, so that part is not clear. And if they make the payment but don't make the late fee, then they're shut off again and have to go through another payment plan. So I'm saying that something in your policy needs to be, make sure that the customer receives that on the bill that they receive or however way, because it is not clear. At least it wasn't clear to me when I went through the process. That needs to be very clear to the customer. Otherwise, they'll have to go through, and that's very frustrating. And it takes time and effort to do that. Whatever you need to do in order to make it clear.
Okay, so 12.01, we were just in that section. Is the second paragraph not clear?
It may be clear in our policy. I'm just saying clear to the customer. I'm saying the customer service needs to make sure that that's clear to the customer, because it wasn't clear to me. And there are other customers they have there, and they get shut off, because they made arrangements. And then the first payment, when they made the first payment, as was stated under agreement, this is the first payment. Make the first payment, but you didn't pay the late fee with that payment, and then you get shut off again, have to make payment arrangements again. They understand what I'm saying. I know you guys.
I do understand,
Okay,
and
I know you do.
and it's part of our documentation as well, and something that has to be agreed to. And the documentation that goes out does identify that, and then they have to agree to that as well. And so if there's anything else you can think of that we can do other than that.
Yeah, add it to that first payment.
Can you, so do you guys have like a,
Tell them that they need to pay that,
Okay.
that payment arrangement plus the first pay payment, but it will not come out of the system that way, because that late payment has already been identified on the account. So that is so if you agree that I'm paying 50 on this, remember you have a late payment charge, and that will need to be included, so it's 52.48 or whatever the arrangement is. That comes out on the documentation and it states it, but sometimes that just isn't realized. But we do make clear.
I'm saying there's a way in which you can include that payment within that first payment, so that there's no confusion there. Because it looks like, okay, this is my first payment. I know this is my first payment, and if they're
do you guys have like a blank payment arrangement agreement that,
I don't have a blank one, but I can go get you.
well, can you redact one? I mean, just so take out, I don't want individual customer information. We just want to see how it's worded. And so that might, maybe it's something we don't solve tonight, but.
And then what Gabby said I forgot about that now that we're going to text messaging, it's included in the text as well.
So we cut down on a lot of that. We did have that issue. So now the customers that are on payment arrangements get a message a couple days before to let them know what the amount is that they actually owe.
perfect.
They'll get that.
That clears
Which
everything up.
includes the late fee.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you so much.
And that means that a person has to be getting our text messages.
Very
as
good.
well.
Very good.
So if a person's
Don't have
not
a
getting
phone.
those, then they have the other one, or don't, so cell phone, older
Okay.
customers, but still, that's a great way to mitigate most of it.
Okay.
But I just always think about our older population, like my mom that's not gonna get text messages. But we still wanna make sure that they understand that as well in our conversation with them and in the wording.
Okay, that brings us up to 15.01, which are the cold and hot weather rule. So the only question before the board, other than if there's issues with the way it's worded now, is whether or not to include, for the hot weather rule, that the temperature be at or above 95 degrees Fahrenheit.
It seemed like we argued this from meeting
It does,
after meeting.
but this is a decision the board has to make.
So can I say this?
If you use a mic.
So that is the way we apply the rule. If it's in place, if it's forecasted to be at or above, we will. And so if that's in there, that's fine, because that's the way we look at it when if it's forecast to be at or above.
Sounds like we don't have a discussion then. I mean, unless,
No, I think the reason it was, the way it was originally worded was above 95 degrees.
that's right.
Well, you interpreted that as 95 and above, and we're just making it clear that
Yeah.
that 95 is included in that.
Do we do the same thing on the heat index language, or is it actually above that mark? Is it at
It
or
says,
above in
it
practice?
says will be at or below 32 degrees.
Sorry, not on the cold weather, but
Oh, the heat index.
on the
sorry.
hot, yeah.
Will rise at or above.
I'm not making a proposal. I'm just asking for staff of the clarification. Is that something that the practice is also at or above?
Yes,
Should be, I think. It is.
it's forecasted to be at or above. Then we're not very much.
You got that, Rob?
At or above,
Mhm.
Thank you.
2 or above for this one?
I put will be at or above. All right, so if we're good, otherwise, we can lock that up as well. And then 16.01, just a couple of tweaks there on the, obviously, no deposit required for flex pay, and then we added an example in paragraph X of how BPU applies a payment for debt recovery. So 25% of the payment that a customer makes goes toward the past debt that the customer has. If that makes sense. Any questions or comments from the board on that? Hearing none, lock it up, Rob. We're done.
Agenda to policy committee for your great.
Thank you.
I want to say that publicly and on the record, to thank customer service employees and our board members that served on this committee. That's all the time and effort you put into that and the explanations. I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Stevie, I know that you're going to be thrilled to know that once the board officially adopts this policy, which I don't believe we're prepared to do tonight.
I did not prepare a resolution because I thought you'd like.
We'll do it next meeting, for sure. We'll get them fully approved. We're gonna go on a road show, Stevie, you and I, and we're gonna explain to the public what these how we change these customer service policies. Amber's probably gonna have to help us, but, you know, and really, I'm really gonna make these guys come because we don't know.
We can begin at our.
Well, we might. I mean, we definitely have another topic to go through, which part of it is related to this. So, all right, well, that concludes the customer service policy section. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. All your
I got one.
Good, I know, Grammy.
Thank you.
Hard work.
You're welcome. It's so good to hear.
Thankless hard work.
Thank you guys so much. Definitely.
I would also like to thank the policy committee too for your work and input into this and I think already stated, we'll go ahead and do it on the next board meeting's agenda.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go into our 2025 capital budget plan. Before we get started, I'll just say this is still work in progress. We're still working through this. This just kind of gives you a snapshot of where we are, but I am looking for some other changes to come to take place. And we get farther down, and we'll bring all this back to you as we complete all of our work. Getting a budget in place that we hope you will also appreciate, hopefully that you support. Randy's gonna,
Yeah. I'll start us off and I will start us off and pass it over to staff, operations staff, to go over their projects that they've preliminary, as Bill's indicated, put budget for this next year. Some of the criteria we look at on capital projects and whether you want to do a capital project or whether the project's feasible or not is, the questions we want to ask is, does it improve customer service somehow? Will it improve our efficiency on the operations side? Will it make the system more reliable? And hopefully there's some savings in operating costs as well if we do a project. Now, there are projects that get mandated upon us, development sometimes and environmental regs that we have to do that don't meet this criteria, but that's just sometimes part of the beast that the world we live in. So we also use our 5-year capital plan, which we use for the cost of service, for a rate study as part of this process that we use the guide to go by. So those projects generally are all put in CIP, the capital improvement plan, and they will change as we go through the years, but they're on that list to be used as a guide for folks to bring their projects forward. So with that, this is really your opportunity to see these projects. You're gonna have a month or so to kind of look at them, and if you have any comments or questions, you can follow up with operations staff or myself to, give you the opportunity to look at them now before you see them in the final budget in December. So with that, I'll pass it over to the first one. It looks like electric distribution, electric ops.
Okay, so our capital budget, as usual, majority of our spending is in the distribution area. These are the major projects in that. Our distribution pole inspection replacement program, which we presented on to you earlier this year, continues to be a big focus. We have pretty big backlog of poles there, so we can put quite a bit of money into that. In addition to an overhead feeder rebuild program, we're starting to kind of pair with that. These are, both system reliability driven projects. We also have our annual overhead, annual underground construction budgets. Both of those, any new construction we do as part of like new customers, as well as just some minor system projects we do. The Piper Overhead Feeders project is the work along 118th Street, support economic development. That's something, we've been working on this year. Unfortunately, we did have some delays in some materials, so a lot of that construction is being pushed into the 2025 instead of 2024. So we're getting a lot of material this year and then that's mostly just the construction costs. And then we have the levee rebuild project. I presented on that. I think a few months ago, we still have some work there. That's, the Army Corps is raising the levees. We're having to relocate some infrastructure, do some work in relation to that. And then we just have, some other miscellaneous projects in there to kind of round out the $12.257 million budget we're looking for.
In the miscellaneous, what type of things are caught in the miscellaneous?
It would be smaller projects like individual customer projects. That's not a line item. That's just other projects not specifically listed. Those are all broken out. It's not just does that make sense?
Tom, you might have a customer expanding a facility, so we need to expand services to their new building, and so that bucket is where those type of.
So that's just some money that's set aside for things that come up throughout the year.
Correct.
It's not necessarily.
It's probably spoken for, but it's a multitude of projects. Instead of listing them all, here's these small things that add up to them.
Yeah, it's just other projects.
And I guess to interrupt Darren a little bit more. You will be getting from my 4 groups, and I'll send it through. I'll have Kaylee or Chris send it out. But we've done a capital budget request sheet for every project we're proposing in electric supply, water, electric, ops and distribution, and at the plant. So you'll have an explanation sheet, shows you who's doing what project, what's driving it, what bucket it fits in, expected start date, cost, those kinds of things. We're trying to make it easier this year since we have the bulk of the capital work to get you guys things you can understand before we come to the workshop.
Much appreciated.
Yeah, thank you.
Next slide, please. Couple other buckets, our electric transformers. So whenever we purchase transformers for the overhead underground system, those are all capital costs. So that's anything for new construction to maintenance. Basically, all of our transformers are in those budgets, as well as our electric meters. Between testing and replacing, meters that are no longer good. That's about $900,000 a year is our typical spend. That's kind of based on historical. So both those buckets, are kind of in support of that distribution area. But that's all for equipment in those 2 buckets.
And how much is a transformer?
Well, really depends on the size. I mean, you can have anything from a 10 kVA that would feed like a house to a 2,500 kVA. So a few $1,000s to, over $100,000 depending on the size.
So that 600,000 doesn't represent a whole lot of.
So the overhead transformers are typically the smaller ones like you see on the pole. So there are quite a few in there. But yeah, the underground transformers are typically larger and more costly. Those are usually the bigger units, but we do have, some smaller ones for underground subdivisions as well, but those are usually more costly. That's why it's such a, larger number in that account. But all of those, we've talked in the past, the lead times on transformers, these are all open orders that we've already made. If we order something today, it's 2 years, 1.5 years to 2 years. So, those are all things that we have had on order and expect to receive in 2025.
And you base your projections upon previous year's data?
Yes. Yes, and I talked about that a little bit in the capital project form, but yeah, we have 2 needs. We have, just our typical maintenance usage. So we track that, I just say annually. So we have an expected usage just for routine failure, replacement, things like that, storms when they come through. And then all the, large new construction projects, we have a reservation system. So we project those needs and reserve transformers. We're based on those 2 needs, the new capital and the just maintenance. In the substation area, $736,000 total, and that's broken up Primarily, we've got our, substation breaker replacement program, substation relay replacement program. The substation improvements is kind of other, miscellaneous equipment improvements like that. If we're gonna go through and, replace section equipment that are, a breaker or relay or transformer or something like that. So those are all, capital equipment replacement projects that are reliability, driven and modernization. The Fisher substation decommission, that substation we replaced with the new Rosedale substation several years ago. Most of the substation has already been removed, but we do have, a little bit of site work there where we have some foundations and some other equipment left behind that we need to clear off next year, in preparation for community project that's going to be going on down there. And then the substation battery upgrades is replacing we have, large substation battery banks on our substations that provide emergency power to run the substation if something happens. So we usually plan to replace, one or two of those a year, depending on needs. Next slide. And then our general construction is all of our things like our work equipment is our trucks, like our bucket trucks and different like that. And then the automobiles are more the smaller trucks and vans and vehicles you see our staff driving around in the county. We also have budgets for other things like our tools, any like specialized high voltage tools like the lineman might use or specialized test equipment we might use to test a piece of substation equipment or a meter or what have you. The technology budget covers things like ongoing replacement of laptops and computers, as well as furnishings. And then the radio budget is for, we have our own handheld radios, the crews use. So there's a fair bit of money allocated there because the units we have are at end of life. So we need to start a proactive replacement, as they fail, they're no longer supported. So we're going to start phasing those out with the new model of handheld radios. But a little over $1.6 million between all those kind of general projects just to support all of our ongoing efforts. And so that's the total. Again, the EDA grant listed there, that $1.25 million is for the Piper Overhead Feeders project. We received that EDA grant. So we'll be actualizing the remainder of that money that we didn't get this year in 2025. And then the rest would be cash funding. So the total proposed is, a little over $20.4 million of capital projects for 2025. Any other questions?
In comparison to last year, where are we at?
We were lower, about $5 million lower than this year, I believe, 4 or 5 million. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but it's substantially lower.
So we're cutting our budget.
Yes, ma'am. I'm not gonna make that comment, I was on it, so.
Confirming.
Yeah, very good, thank you.
So we don't have the amount of revenue bonds available to us too, so we'll be focusing a lot on cash. And see where we can make progress with some cash funding projects. Revenues gave us, the bonds gave us the ability to have more revenue to do other things. Thinking an outcome of that, now we're laying cash that much harder.
I'm going to ask a question that I should know the answer to, but I'm not sure that I do.
Okay.
So for any bonds that we issue, we have to go to the unified government for approval to issue bonds, right? Okay. And so then for any, like if we went and sought an Inflation Reduction Act grant, I'm sorry?
We do not have.
We don't. We can go that direct. Okay, thank you.
And so the grants that we got from the water department, those were trips to DC and those are direct asked. Representative Sharice Davis, Senator
Right.
Made those requests directly.
Right. Well, and I thought about those and I thought, I feel like there's some we talked about before, and maybe that was ARPA specific, right? Because the ARPA money could not come to us directly, correct? It went directly to, and I know that we were allocated some funds from that, but
Yeah.
I mean, I know it was minor or small, but it was still some.
Yeah, all those type funding, opportunities do go back to the UG. You know, that's why we decided to just kind of work alongside that. And we did ask the UG for money during the COVID days, and it was that. What series was that?
That was the first CARES Act, I believe,
The CARES Act.
CARES Act, and that's,
So,
got the 250,000.
we have for over 2 million.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
And in the past, we were just not successful, and this is going back, sometime we were not successful trying to work together on getting money both for BPU and the UG. BPU was not successful with that, so that's why we're taking a different approach, have taken a different approach.
Well, and we're gonna hear a lot about the IRA tonight. And so that's why I was asking, I was like, do we have the ability to directly, I just don't know if.
Well, so to that, I did go to ECA, and some of those are probably gonna flow through the state.
Mhm.
We did make a direct request for electric operation system improvements that we didn't get. And we also made a direct request for the Solar for All project.
Right.
The state of Kansas didn't qualify for. So that money was gonna be for us to build another solar project. And then get the tax credits, which is the first time in this group can also take advantage of that.
Right.
And then pass those savings on to low income customers that would reduce their electric bills by 20%. So still don't have the answer to the white Kansas didn't qualify. But the state didn't qualify, I mean, money didn't come.
Okay, thank you. Sorry for derail the discussion.
It's not a new route. Again,
We come up again tonight.
Growth is low, so we've already told there are certain dollars that's gonna be made available to consumers directly. So,
I've been hearing about that for almost 2 years now. No, I know it's not us. I know it's not even the state at this point. It's the feds, so.
on the two grants, I mean, it was promised that I think, Steve, it took us 2 years to get.
Yeah, once that process, it's about 2 years to get through, and then work on the project.
Right. So there's a long lead time there, from when if you are successful, to actually when the dollars can come in.
Thanks.
Right, so for electric production, we'll start with Dearman coal plant. Close to $7 million worth of project that we're looking to do there. Some of these projects have already started just because of the lead times of different materials. And I'll note that as we go through. The first one falls in that category, the bags and cages. This is the filtration system on the back end of the unit. This will be the first time these have been replaced since commissioning of the AQC. And this, so we did spend some money this year. We've got these ordered, they're under contract to show up. And this will make the rest of those payments and the installation. Catalyst layer, that'd be the same part of the plant. These are another environmental component of the unit to reduce NOx. This again has been ordered. And this will cover further payments and installation of the catalyst. Feed water heater is another one that has already been purchased, will be delivered to site this year. And this will take care of the installation and a final payment. Steam inert piping, this is a small piping project and few valves that could be in the plant proper. Flame scanners, these are obsolete, need to be replaced with having troubles finding spare parts for the current ones. That will be take care of that issue. Cooling tower batteries, these are a lot like Darren's batteries in the switch yards, just take care of critical equipment in the event of a power outage. Drum and heater instrument upgrade. These are, the drum is a critical component of the boiler, and this is upgrading of those instruments. A lot of those are, again, obsolete and need to be replaced.
Don, what is lead time an issue with the bag and cage replacement like it is with some of the other?
Can you repeat that?
Lead time to get them,
Yes.
is that an issue?
It-
Or does it happen quicker?
No, it's not an issue because we started that process this year and we're under contract and we have the time to get. You know, they are a longer lead time than they used to be, but with all these projects, we're looking 2-3 years in advance and we've ordered them in time to get them here
Yeah.
for next year. CDS reactors is another component of the environmental piece of the unit. This will be just a lot of this work will just be on site. There's a few parts and pieces that will need to be ordered. AQC air slide blowers. This is basically a fan. There's 6 of them on the unit. Those are being ordered this year, installed next year. VFD controls for the induced draft fan. That's just an upgrade on a component. These are the largest motors at the plant. And there's variable drive on the 3 phases, large copper buses. It's something that was identified in the generator assessment that we did earlier. So we'll be taking a look at that and doing some upgrades. The AQC transformer to 5 kV bus tie. This is a reliability piece. This will allow us to feed parts of the plant through different transformers. We have several different auxiliary transformers, and this will help us tie those together so that we don't have a single point of failure. Boiler chemical clean. This is another one that was brought up generator assessment. This is done about every 10 years. It's been a little over 10 years since it's been done. And basically washing the insides of the tubes with chemicals and flushing out all the iron oxides and everything else that builds up over time. DCS Evergreen upgrade. So the DCS is the main control system on the coal plant. And this is an upgrade to keep that control system and reliable. The common, this includes the coal system. We have a conveyor belt replacement. That's the line item we have every year. In the case of a belt failure, we haven't had a belt failure this year, but one that we keep up here because it's likely to happen with the number of belts we have in the coal yard. The coal handling equipment and structure. This is something that was identified again in the generation assessment that we did is needing repair. A lot of those components are 40, 50 years old and in a tough environment, and they're starting to need repair. And that fairly similar to the pan feeder. The pan feeder is basically a chute that vibrates and shakes the coal down into the first belt to get it back up into the plant. So that again are in need of repair. Moving to CT4, just 2 projects on this for a little over $1 million. The primary and secondary spare fuel nozzles. So that's what injects natural gas and diesel into the combustion chamber. There's, I believe, 12 of those on this unit, and they come to close to $1 million. And while they come to more than that, we have purchased these again this year, and this will take care of the final payment and installation of the nozzles. Control system upgrade. This is a 2-year project, but this is the first year of it. So this, we will do the legwork next year to replace the control system in 2026. And this again is a system that's original to CT4. It's about, so it's over 20 years old and is no longer supported by the OEM.
Wow. That's a lot of money for maintenance.
Yeah.
A lot of money.
So CT 2 and 3, these are both getting control system upgrades as well. This is the final year of their 2-year project. So we are close to finalizing the contract for these upgrades. So there'll be money spent this year, and then this will finish those projects up next year. CT 2, GSU and bus work recondition, just another thing that was identified in the generation assessment that we're going to go after and upgrade and make more reliable. And the batteries, again, same as the cooling tower batteries, support the control equipment in case of a power outage. Levy improvements, this is an agreement we have with the Corps of Engineers, a payment that we make annually. Dogwood capital expense, so this line item, that's our 17% of Dogwood's capital budget. Several projects that they line out in their budget. The major one is a major steam turbine inspection on their steam turbine. And then line item for a vehicle. And I believe that wraps up electric production. Comes to a total of a little over $14 million for 2020. Any questions?
Any questions?
All right. Get out of here.
Okay, so I will go over the water budget, capital budget for 2025. We're going to start with work equipment and tools. Our water automobiles, we're going to be replacing 3 trucks this year. These trucks, the pump tender trucks is what we use for our going to our pump stations, and they're driven every day, 7 days a week. So we put a lot of mileage on that. The other water quality trucks are also 5 days a week. Sometimes that we work on Saturdays, so there's extra days for water quality, sampling, and flushing. And those are high mileage trucks that we have. Tools. We have 100,000 for some valve operating tools that we're gonna get the crews. These help operate the valves, hard operating valves that are hard on shoulders and wrists and arms. So we're gonna try to improve it so we can save injuries in the future. And then some tapping equipment. Every 4 or 5 years, we have to replace our tapping equipment, and we're gonna get some new machines to tap from 3/4 inch all the way up to 12-inch water mains. We'll be making. On our heavy equipment, we're spending $425,000. We have a crane. So we have 2 cranes in the water department, and we're replacing one of them. These trucks are, we have 2 of them, and they set all the equipment for us, all valves, hydrants, pipe, any kind of pipe that we set for main leaks or construction, plates on the street. So they're used a lot every day. And then our tapping truck, do all the taps for the food, plumbers, inspections, and so it does the tapping trucks, and they like I said, they usually have taps every day across the city. Next slide. Talk about the water transmission storage. It's 7.6 million we have in there. 4 million gallon reservoir. So this is part of the process of the 7 million we built. 7 million is done. It should be in the next month be filled disinfected, sampled, and then we'll put it in service. And we'll let it operate for a few weeks to know that everything is good. And then we're going to take the 4 million that was roughly was built about 30 years ago, 31 years ago. And we need some improvements to that. And so they'll make those improvements over the next, it take a few months it'll take them to get that completed. And then we'll have both reservoirs operation in the Argentine district. Water transmission main and valve improvements. Most of this money, 625,000, is going towards valve replacement. Our transmission mains, we have not until the last year or 2 years put a lot of money in valves and stuff. And so we're starting to see a lot of issues. So we're going to start replacing more valves with that. I know that doesn't replace a lot of valves when you start talking 36-inch valves and stuff. So we'll be able to do a few with that, but we'll pick the critical ones that need to be replaced first. Pump stations, that's the KDHE loan that we got. This is for parallel pump station. It was built in the late 60s. We're going to put a new switchgear and stuff in there. That switchgear is original, back from the 60s. These pump stations, they run pretty much 24/7. So it's been running pretty much since the 60s, running, and it's time to do some improvements, which will take it another 40 years of not having any issues. And then Kansas River Crossing, we've discussed this project. That's the transmission main on 12th Street. We bid that project. It's going, they're started construction, have not started boring yet. Majority of the work will get done this year, and then it'll finish up the first part of the year. It's important to get this main going and get it in because they're going to take 18th Street down next year. And we have to have this main in, so we still have 3 mains going across the river to feed the south side of our district. Transmission main 98th Street. This project has been we've had this for a while. But we've gone and ran into a wrinkle with our design of where it was going because of new development out west. And it's just a redundant main that we're trying to get in so we have reliability in our parallel in case we have to take our main transmission main down. So 500,000 is basically look for a new way to go, a new method of taking it to the tower. And we'll be looking at that and start the process of engineering and any easements what we need to get. And then removal of the old 38 tower in parallel. This tower has actually not been in service for years, but it's always been there because of cell service that we ran out. Well, we got it all switched over to the Oakland Tower. And so we're going to remove it. So if you look on that front page of that shows the Capitol, you'll see the Oakland Tower in the background is the 38. It will be coming down this year.
This year?
Yeah. And then, and just other miscellaneous transmission work. And Tom, that's just kind of work, like I said, we always run into something we have to do with, and that's just an area we cover with that. Could be a lease. You never know what we might have to cover with that. Next slide. We have 10 million in projects that come mostly distribution of these. They involve engineering of help on those, but the UG CMIP project is that project is the main majority of that money is for a project in Edwardsville on 103rd and Richland, something like that. I think that's the address. And then of course our 5 million we have for the grant, that's the one we have started construction on that. The first couple of mains have been laid. We're going to be making connections in the next few weeks. And so it's moving on. We'll have to spend another 5 million next year. Water distribution system improvements. That is several mains that we have that need to be replaced. The crews will do some of this work. But these are mains that when we get a bad main and like we've had a lot of work, we put it on a list and we just try to knock a few of those out every year. So we did list those out in our forums that you guys will see. Now we're not going to be able to get all those, but we'll knock a couple of them. We'll prioritize them and that's how we pick them. And then Relocations, that usually comes up. We have to have a little bit of money in there to cover. Like maybe there'll be a sewer conflict, the storm sewer or so, and so we'll find that we have a conflict and we'll have to move our water mains to relocate away to get within what we should be allowed, 10 feet away or whatever. There's a conflict. And then distribution valves, those are all the valves that we replace. We do valves weekly. We're replacing valves and throughout the system. And it's an ongoing project that we always do, along with the water service and the hydrants. We replace those. We work on those pretty much every day. The crews are working on replacing services and hydrants. So, and corrosion control is kind of we're trying to be proactive. And proactive is we're trying to save our metallic water main. So we try to put money in here every year. Sometimes it gets cut, but we're trying to go out and install anodes to try to protect a main that we can usually, we get anodes on it. We probably can extend its life 15, 20 years. So we're going to try to get aggressive with that over the next several years of trying to protect more of these water mains that are unprotected. They're not coated and they're into the environment and where we start getting our leaks. And then transmission and main inspections. This is where we hire a company. They come in and on our transmission mains, leak detection is not good for us on main because they're so large. We really cannot hear leaks. So they'll come in internally and they'll put a device in them and go down the main and listen for leaks. And then they'll let us know exactly where a leak could be, and then we could have it repaired. Miscellaneous is just another one of those buckets, Tom, that it covers projects that come up that they come up pretty much weekly, monthly, that we have projects that we have to get that we weren't anticipating. Next slide, please. And at the Nearman plant, we have about 1.75 for projects down there. The raw water, this is the collector well pump. We have replaced 2 of them, and we decided to hire a diver this year to go in and look at them. And we have a lot of need for the pumps down there. So there's 2 collector wells, 8 pumps, and we're going to have to replace a pump, have it rebuilt for the next 6 years to get caught up because there is so much need on them. So we did make a little bit of improvement, but for the next 6 years, we'll probably be replacing a pump or 2 going forward.
Is it just age wear?
Yeah, it is. And they're 24/7. They run all the time. And we got some corrosion going on in there, and we got some holes in the piping and stuff. And so we just need to, we have one that came back that we had rebuilt this year. And we had another one go down where it's not operating. So we went down and looked at them all and decided this is a major, we knew this was coming, but we're moving forward with it because we need to get that because we don't have a backup. This is what we have. The 2 collector wells. That's what we have. Water basin improvement. That is, we're going to.
No, I was just saying, I could have waited, but.
No, go ahead.
When you talk about a diver and then doing the improvements.
Yeah.
So who will do the improvements?
Well, so the diver went down to do a physical inspection.
Mm-hmm.
They can do minor repairs. So like we did have to have some repairs because we had some bolts that would rot it off. So imagine 120 foot down, this pump goes down 120 foot down in a collector well. And every 10 feet, I think it's 10 feet, there's sections of pipe. And they're connected with bolts. And they type up, well, some of the bolts had rotted off. And so they were able to make some of those repairs, but some of them, there's holes on the side of the pipes going down. So basically it's pumping and it's shooting back out and dropping back down in the well. So, and we see it because our gallons that we can pump, GPM, it drops down on that. So you can start seeing it. We start knowing we're having a little bit of trouble. And that's why we brought them in to look at them because we had one drop way off over the last few months and we brought them in. So we made some improvements, but that was just temporary.
No, my question was, Who, and do we have people within our own staff that can?
No, so we have to hire contractor equipment to bring the pull cranes, pull that out, and then they'll ship it off. I think the last one went to Texas. There's only a couple places in the United States that build those
That's right.
pumps.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank
Did you try Flex Seal?
you.
Yeah, there you go. And then the water basin improvement, that is paint, we need to repaint it. So we're gonna do one basin next year, and then the following year, we're gonna do another one. It's probably been about 10 years since we've had any kind of painting done in the basin, and they're way overdue, so. And then, the generator work is part of that, grant we won from FEMA. We got from, Streets Davis, and it is, that project is actually not going because the generator is such a long lead time. It's not going till 26, but we're still working on the design and stuff. So a little bit of money will be there spent on that. And then control system improvements. We're trying, continue to always have to do improvements to our controls in Nearman. Everything that runs, every piece of equipment in there is part of the control system. So that's just making improvements to that. Miscellaneous projects is just electrical and mechanical improvements like valves. Like I said, the plant is coming up on 25 years old, and it runs 24/7. So there's no shutting it down. When we shut it down for something, we got to be back up in less than 2 hours. So, yep. And then cash, we're about 8 million, just over 8 million. KDHE loan, it was about 8.4 this year. And then EPA grant, we're hoping to spend that 5 million. That will be the plan spend. So that's roughly half of what we got awarded. So any questions?
Yeah.
Yep.
What, are these improvements going to have to, how will it affect the future plan of the IRP regarding the retirement of the Nearman plant?
This is the water.
This is water.
Okay.
Power plant.
Yeah.
So you're just doing some things at the Nearman plant?
No, the Nearman plants are, we also call our water plant the Nearman Water Treatment.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
TW, if you see
PT, that's Nearman.
That's Nearman water.
Yeah, this is the water side. Yeah.
Very good. Thank you so much. They're both Nearman.
Yes, they're both Nearman.
Thank you.
Good.
I'm sorry, I didn't ask you the question, and I didn't ask Don either. Oh, you're good. Steve, but the question regarding budget.
Yeah.
Okay, as compared to last year, where are we?
It is less than what we were last year.
As well.
I can't give you that, but it is definitely a lot less than last year.
Don?
Ours is higher than.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
So what we're gonna talk about later is where does the overall budget? How does the overall budget compare, and the expectation that the overall budget will be lower than last year?
Thank you very much.
So when you see the parts and pieces, some may be higher, some may be lower. It's just like the bottom line for everything.
Thank you much.
Okay, electric supply, got a map board for the EMS operations group. So the map board is a tool that the transmission operators use for a kind of a real-time snapshot of both of our transmission loops. Primarily use it for line loading, line flows, things like that. Our current map board is no longer operational. It was put in 2008. The hardware was the primary failure. Display monitors that they use were the old rear projection tube type screens, and they've continued to fail over time, and we've kind of consolidated the map board and crunched it in as much as we could, and now they've all essentially failed. So software is no longer supported, so this would be a full new display map board on the wall with updated software and support. And that's all we have for electricity. I think everyone's toured it, right? I don't know if
So you
Yeah, there we go.
So the board is like essentially a huge monitor on the wall comprised of a bunch
Been
of
there.
monitors and the
Yeah, I
entire
haven't seen it for a long
Or
time.
the- Oh, wow.
I don't remember how many monitors we had to condense down. Typically, it would take up that whole wall.
Right, right.
Right.
So for 2025, we are doing things a little bit differently with our commons. So we're going to be merging our facilities and the project with the facilities all under one group and putting those all together so we can create some efficiencies, find some synergies, and determine true allocation needs across all of our facilities and not have them done individually right now by which location they're at. So starting here, there's some old vehicles that need replaced. The facilities here at 540 Minnesota. No change to admin services. That is the same. We have some copier printer and then document retention systems, security that we continue to improve. You'll see as we go through some of the other details, you'll see security listed a couple times. We've done a really good job of utilizing technology and cameras to help our on-site security be more efficient and making sure that our facilities, the employees, and everything is safe. Next slide, please. So here at Water Facilities, we've got a couple projects. We're doing a second phase where we had a lightning strike issue, so that needs to be replaced. Addition, some bulletproof glass. My understanding is some shots have been fired a couple times, so just protecting people in facilities. And then again, you'll see like cameras and fencing to secure the facility there. Next slide, please. And then on the electric at our service center, they're going to be canopy replacement. If this is not done, it could potentially cause some foundation issues down there. So some current issues that we're addressing along with preventing future concerns. And then again, some security camera and safety. So as we look at 2025, putting this all together, previously, a lot of these projects were done separately within each facility and each group. So by bringing those together, we can really look at the big picture of what the needs are for the facilities and hopefully looking at being able to, the services that we need, use that opportunity to have contracts collectively across the group versus individually. So right now we may have an HVAC contractor at one group, which is different than another, or one facility it's different than another, and bringing those all under one umbrella.
Abby, I don't expect you to know the answer to this, but the people who've been here for 900 years might. How old is this building that we're in right now? When was it constructed? Do you know?
We moved in 2003.
2003,
Yep.
but it wasn't built just for BPUs, was it? Okay, 2003.
Vacant land.
It was built with, in connection with
The
that.
hotel.
Okay, and service center?
It was building 79.
Okay, so
It started in 79, I think it opened up in 80. 79, 78, 79 was mainly construction years.
okay, thank you.
And what about Muncie?
40s.
I think in the 40s.
Oh, that's 900.
So there's a lot of camera equipment in all of those places that we were just testing. I hope, like
Yeah.
Pole Yard and a lot of cameras out.
Yeah, we've been upgrading and adding cameras and it helps. So then the security on site, they can't see everything if they're in one side of a facility or building.
Right.
So that allows them to see multiple places at the same time and really prevent and help protect our facilities.
Yeah, because just thinking about how close Muncie is to the highway, but then how remote some of the other ones are, it's really,
Right.
kind of miraculous that we haven't had a lot more damage with that kind of thing.
And I think in the, like the plants or whatever, they're able to access, use cameras like to view the boiler and things like that, yeah, that has helped.
Functional.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay. Any questions? Very good. Thank you.
Thanks.
But the integration.
You mean across the street here?
So I think we saved the best for last. All that's for last. Folks, there are about 28 items here, so I'm going to go over what the high level ones are. But I will start off with the first one, AMI infrastructure deployment. This is a little bit of work for taking the designs and make sure that our communications protocols out in the field with the meters going into the gatekeepers, which goes into another system, and goes to another system. It's optimally deployed. So a small amount of dollars we have here for the analysis and some replacement of some hardware. The next big ticket item here, these are in alphabetical order by two departments. I'll start with the application department first. The apps advanced development system here is an engineering distribution, distributed generation of PV requests that makes it easier for our commercial industrial customers to request PVs, photovoltaics, distributed generation. It helps with the portal for them to do business with us for new developments. If you're a residential developer, putting in a bunch of items here. So this is a request from the electric distribution department for them to do that. It's, been studied, had a business case for it. It pays for itself over a little bit of time, and it saves our engineers a lot of work. So this is an application for the field. The next one is a BI, we call it, Business Intelligence Analytics Development. This is continuing our quest for data analytics to make sure that this company is one that's managed by fact, managed by data. That's $150,000 for contractors to work with the Tableau tool. You see the drill downs that Abby produces, all the business intelligence dashboards. We have them throughout the company. Bill championed this for financial dashboards, executive dashboards, and operational dashboards. That's what the BI analytics development is. The next big ticket item here is customer information system development. You may know that's the Kayenta software application. There's a number of initiatives going in there. Some of that there is a customer relationship management, customer interaction management, so that when we get a new IVR, a new phone system for the customers to call in, we can track all interactions that a customer has with us. So if they call in, or they use the web, or they use an Exchange Outlook server, sending us email messages. If we have a Maximo service request out in the field, so if a customer calls in and says, I talked to such and such, we can track all the interactions with that. So that's the customer information system development. We spend a lot of money, but this is our revenue collection system here. So that's the $375 for capital enhancements for the CIS system. The next big ticket item there is enterprise asset management, Maximo Cloud, version 9X we call it. A year ago, it's an on-premise solution. The application's in our data centers. It's been around for a long time. IBM owns the Maximo application. A little bit of history on that. They charged us $1.2 million out of the blue last year for licensing issues that we had. We got that $1.2 million negotiated down to 600, got down to zero. Quite a good thing. So we saved some money on that. But now they're moving from an on-premise solution to a cloud solution. We don't go to the cloud. There's a lot of benefits going to the cloud, but we don't go ahead with this project now. They have increased license support, extended maintenance support agreements on the licensing. So it gets more costly as the year goes on. We like to start that project next year. That has a lot of enhancements from generative AI, predictive analytics in the field, all the things that one would do in the field for repairs and services and knowing when equipment's aging is afforded by this cloud application that's not afforded in the on-premise solution. So generative AI and a number of enhancements there for predictive analytics on maintenance requests in the field. The next area there is our Fusion, which is our enterprise resource planning tool. It's our accounting system. It's our financial system. That's basically a on-staff contract we have here and some development we have there to enhance it with a number of initiatives working with Lori's group. The next one here is the enterprise service bus. That's our integration tool. That's that going for 250. Next page, please. Enterprise wireless functionality there is for reducing digital forms, mobile devices for supporting hardware purchases such as printers, scanners for field person storeroom. So with enterprise wireless, we intend on having handheld scanners in the warehouse to scan the QR code, scan devices there. It's for printers. So that's the enhancements we want to put in for enterprise wireless mobility. That's what that means. A lot of these systems, the descriptions here come off of our capital descriptions. So I'm trying to put in common language, okay? Our SRE system, the geospatial information system enhancements, 150,000 for that. What that one is it's a system that can move our assets from our AutoCAD system to GIS. We need to move it from an older system, all of the mapping, all of the descriptions to as-built construction device in the system of record, which is GIS. We move it from the old to the system of record GIS. That's a little bit of effort to get that done. There's some general system enhancements. It's really a catch-all for a lot of capital projects we do for a lot of different business units with a lot of general systems. Our PeopleSoft, the next one is a human capital management, human resources effort there to improve a lot of the things that we use in the HR area. So in the PeopleSoft tool, like a lot of utilities across the country, a lot of modules that we purchase aren't quite fully used and useful. They're not been fully deployed, describe it that way. So we brought in a consultant to help us take a look at it to make the PeopleSoft a tool that's really helpful, to use it to its fullest extent. The alternative is here, if we're not using that tool, it's not helpful, then we would have to go to a new system like Workday. And that's really expensive. And so we're trying to get the best out of this solution. So this is a consultant efforts coming in here to implement all of the recommendations to make our tool useful for us so we'd have to go out and buy another major system. Mobility for Maximal. So we want to have handheld devices out in the field, and the Maximal Mobile solution is that tool. A little bit of effort to get that deployed. We're starting that now. We've got that already in place in the warehouses and in purchasing. So now we need to move it out to the electric and water departments. And that's the effort here for the second phase of this project. A little bit of work on meter data management and the quality assurance automation, even with the small item there. Our sense here is that we want to have more QA, more testing of our solutions before they go live. So this is an automation tool that will help us when we go from old system to new system, that we can ensure that the data transfers from the old to the new without problems. So it's a testing automation tool, small amount of dollars, but it's an important project for us. The next one is utility ops technology development, dealing with our outage management system, meter data management system, our head-end system. So that's the cost for keeping those things up and ready. So that finishes the application development, which is everything that we do for all the business and applications. The next one's not so well known or discuss is infrastructure. I'll point out that the total budget here for both departments is 3.765 million. This is a $520,000 reduction from the 2024 budget. So let's talk about the network and infrastructure project. Only one page here. The other one was a couple of pages. The big project here is, not big project, the ticket items here is desktop and network development. These are laptops and desktops that we replace. DR infrastructure, disaster recovery is to replace servers, firewalls. Next big ticket item here is probably important for everyone. Is our third from the bottom one here, interactive voice response, our IVR. It's an old IVR. It's not interactive. It doesn't really have voice response. So there's a lot of tools are out there. We're doing demos now with, I think, 3 or 4 vendors to replace it. That makes it easy for customers to try and go through the prompts in the IVR. That'll have multiple language recognition. That'll have intuitive thinking about what the customer's calling about, give them their bill. A whole lot of function and features with this tool. Hopefully we can get this deployed in the first quarter of next year. Mobile device management is. Yes. Sorry.
No, I was gonna let him finish and I've got 2 questions. Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
The other one is mobile device management, some tablets and laptops. That's the money to go with mobile with Maximo. And virtual desktop deployments is to what they call a Citrix environment. It's a tool there which allows virtualization from anywhere from systems. That's basically the hardware, the data center, cybersecurity, the infrastructure, the network and protocols, and how all the data goes from one system to another between the 2 data centers. That's it, 3.76 million. Like I said, it's about a 12% reduction from this year.
Thanks, Jerry. A couple of questions on that last page. The desktop network development, are we replacing desktops with desktops? Please tell me the answer is no.
No,
Please tell me the answer is no.
everybody's going with laptops.
Fantastic. Great news.
There might be some out there we haven't found. You know of any, Robert, out there, desktops?
There are some desktops that we replace with desktops. Often those are shared desktops, like up storerooms or something that when people walk up to and that is their purpose. There are a few roles that will never be filled, and because union aren't allowed to take their work on with them because of the compensation, and often they still.
And we have some desktops in our training room.
Yep.
Sure.
But most of the training ones are virtualized now.
Okay, thank you. And then on the IVR, we heard a constituent asked in our meeting one night, month or so back, about whether or not we have, do we provide TTY service with not even IVR, but just our phone service as it is now? I mean, well, I guess really with our IVR. I know you said we have some difficulties with what we have in place now. So for a disabled customer, for a deaf customer.
I don't think the current system's able to do that. Doesn't basically, no.
Okay.
That's on our criteria for our new IVR system. Been evaluating new vendors right now. I've had a demo today and that's the items.
Okay, thank you.
We've taken the IVR, it can't improve any further, the current one.
Sure. No, understood. I sure can't.
So I had a question, Brian. You said we're gonna move to the electric and water from where? So you say you're on the field now and you're gonna move?
Are you talking about facilities? Are you talking about here?
Are you talking about devices? What are you?
Yes, she's talking about.
Mobile devices.
Oh,
Yes, the Maximo Mobile, the project's underway. We have it in the administrative area here, the warehouse. That's the tool we've got ready, but we want to deploy the rest of it out to the actual workers in the field.
Right, and I was wondering what your timeline was.
Timeline?
What's your timeline?
I think it's first quarter. We just.
For mobile devices, for Maxcom?
Yeah. Q1. I said Q1, but wasn't sure the exact date.
So Q1 is gonna be for the majority of your improvement.
Q1, all of it we've completed. Started it a couple of months ago and this continues on with you.
Thank you, ma'am.
So the user group has identified a bunch of other enhancements for us to work on next, so it's not like we're short on. Yeah, the device will be deployed first, you know.
Thank you.
This may be a moot point since we're looking at new IVR, but did you say that our current interactive voice response system is neither interactive nor contains voice response?
That's correct.
The label will become more accurate when we adopt the new one?
Yes.
Okay.
It'll be, yeah, it's be responsive to technology that most customers are
excited about that next phase then.
Yes.
Should probably be clear about two different IVRs.
Oh, yes.
One has and one doesn't.
That's helpful. Thank you. What's the distinct, what are the two?
Go ahead.
So the MuleSoft IVR is
Outage management system.
service that's provided by MuleSoft and part of our outage management system. And that is specifically a cloud application. So if we have a complete outage down here and our phones aren't working, we can still take calls. So that will be absolutely critical. It's separate from our customer service IVR. We do also get some IVR services through Paymentus, which is our payment processor. And that's for when we hand off the payments from our IVR due to PCI requirements. We don't want any of the payment card information stored over our systems. So we hand off their IVR, let them process the payment.
Thank you. But there's something that's strictly customer service. And they are more than excited to come back later and give you all the improvements that they're envisioning that will come with this system.
Okay.
So summarizing it like. Yes. Summary of what we presented. I just want to stress that this is still working.
Yeah.
So this will change, most likely be a little bit lower. So it's just broken up by sources of funds, where the money's coming from, and the groups that are, the areas the money's going to be spent. So with that, that's all we have for this presentation. One last one, a fuel and purchase power one, I think next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think the other thing I was gonna ask later, 'cause I thought we'd actually run out of time here, but and so.
You're welcome.
Or, if you're leaving, I can leave too. Okay, all right. I don't know that we've ever settled on a specific date for when we have our budget retreat, so. We talked about, I know you asked, potentially move it up a week, give us more time. If we hit some bumps in the road along the way. So Lori, I think it's, what week is it?
We're talking about the week of November 18th.
Okay, so typically we do it around Mondays or Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Mondays,
Monday or Tuesday. I think it was Monday last year.
so that. Rob's got a calendar up, so
I'm okay with either of those dates.
Monday's a little better for me. I can make Tuesday work if need be.
and we've gotten through it in one day, Brett, so. Before, unless there's a reason those.
I think the last couple of years we've got.
Right. We're looking at the 18th, you said, Lori?
That's Monday. If that's a Monday, if that makes it better for Brett.
So does does that work for everybody?
Can you do that?
I'm gonna ask for,
No, is that right up? Okay, that's okay, that's fine.
it's the full week before Thanksgiving.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. That week is great. It was the week before and the week afterwards is the consensus.
David, what about you?
Good. 2 days before a regular meeting,
To what?
2 days before.
Yeah.
We'll have our.
Meeting on the 20th.
20.
It'll probably be 2/3 of the day, well, breakfast and lunch or something. Typically, it's like 8 o'clock,
8:30 to.
8:30 to 2:30, 2:30, somewhere around there.
Like that.
Would be here. I remember we had it.
Yeah,
at
we're
the
down the border.
8:30 in the morning to 2:30 a.m. the next morning.
It's long.
That sounds like the legislature.
It's a long day, for sure.
Will there potentially be a remote option?
Oh, no.
Okay. Thanks.
Except for you, we're gonna.
Well, I may still be pretty immobile, so I don't.
Oh, that's right. When's your surgery?
7.
The fall as well. We don't run into any unexpected things along our journey. December 4th is the first board meeting, the 18th is the second board meeting, so the board want to see the put it on for approval on the fourth. If we don't do it on the 4th, we have to do it on the 18th.
Well, I think that if issues come up.
Right.
During the, the retreat or the whatever,
Right.
that we need to work with,
Okay.
that we need to work out, then.
You've got the two board.
From
Board
November.
meetings.
Okay.
And that's kind of why I wanted to push it back
Yep.
a little bit earlier, because there may be some.
Right.
But the budget's gonna be tougher this year with all the notoriety, scrutiny and everything that's going on, so.
Yep.
It's not no rush.
Do what?
Notoriety is not the
No.
right word.
Yeah,
Not that.
gentle, that's a gentle word.
So if, so that gives us
Okay.
I
time to work it out.
totally agree with that. That's good thinking.
Okay. Well, with that, Mr. President, I think that wraps up our part of the conversation tonight. David has.
You're saying, I mean, just getting back to that, so we're saying the second meeting in December.
We'll finalize, but
Finalize the second one and on the first one. I'll be virtual or city on
Be out on the 4th.
the fourth. So I just wanted to affirm, but I'll be virtual.
won't be an executive session, so.
Can't vote, right? I still vote.
You can still vote.
Good. Make sure, just asking.
Anything else before we hand it back over? Okay.
I mean, that language is Thursday. So,
I entertain a motion to adjourn the work session.
this is Rose, move to adjourn.
Right, second. Been moved and second. Roll call, please.
Roll call, Groneman.
Aye.
Haley,
Aye.
Wakes,
Aye.
Mulvaney Henry,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Gonzalez.
Aye.
That motion carries. This meeting is adjourned.